Okay, good morning, Nus Wadeezulh. Today we're going to be doing our next animal of the week, which is a request from a couple students actually, and it's a really funny animal. And it's going to be a nice simple one to draw, so it shouldn't take too long. This week's animal is the blobfish, which a couple of years ago was actually voted the world's ugliest animal. Which, I don't know, they have a point, but it's kind of one of those animals that's so ugly it's almost cute. So, let me just find it real quick and we'll get started. Remember, before we get going, make sure you have your Animal of the Week paper. I gave you 2 in your last homework package. So you should have the frame on one side and the description on the back. So make sure you have that. And make sure you have a pencil and an eraser, because remember, we start off with nice light lines and then we do some erasing. Like I said though, the blobfish is not going to be as complicated as some of the past animals we've done, like squids or elephants or wolves or tree frogs. It's not going to be as complicated as any of those. So the first thing we're going to start off with is a blob. It's kind of curved up on the top, and then it kind of goes flat around here on the bottom, like that. Nice light lines, because we're going to add our little fin sticking out of the side here, but really that's most of the blobfish right there. Now we're going to add a bit of a nose. Our nose is going to come down like this. So the thing about blobfish is, I think we might have talked about this in one of our classes about deep sea creatures, but the blobfish is a very deep sea creature. He lives about 3,000 feet under the water, and he's about 12 inches long. So think about a ruler, that's a foot, about like that. He's about 12 inches long, and he's made out of jelly-like substances because down there at 300 feet below the water, there's so much pressure. So he's being squeezed all the time by all of this water pressure. So underwater, he actually looks just like a normal fish. And it's not until you bring him all the way up into the surface that he starts to look like a blob. But everyone's favorite version of the blobfish is the blob version. So that's why we're doing a blobfish. That's actually on land. Part of your project for today, though, is in the fun facts section on the back of your sheet. I'm going to have you look up on the internet and find a blobfish that's underwater in his actual natural habitat, and you can try to draw one of them, just to show the difference that change in pressure has on these animals. Okay, so we have our nose. The next thing, imagine if you got, all of the pressure that kind of keeps you together, if it all got taken away, you'd start to kind of droop and turn into a blob too. You can imagine what would happen to your face. All the muscles would sag. That's not going to look good on film. Anyways, all your muscles would sag and you'd end up with a big frown. And that's what he has. So we're going to give him his lips. This is a ridiculous looking animal, isn't it? We're going to give him his lips. And then what I would do is kind of make a nice dark line for his sad face. But then I would also put some lighter lines around to actually show his lips here. So then I'm going to, it's hard to show a light line here. There we go. Oh goodness. This is what they look like though. It's fairly silly looking. Okay. The next thing we do is we need to give them eyes. Blobfish eyes they're not going to have really great eyes down there because at 3,000 feet underneath the sea, there's not much light at all. So the blobfish really just kind of leave things to chance because they're so blobby and they're slightly less dense than water. They're able to just kind of hover along the surface, or not the surface, the ground, the ocean floor. And as they do that, they have these big lips and they're just kind of able to grab whatever comes along their way. Which is usually things like sea urchins or shellfish or crustaceans like little crabs and lobsters. So they're not really hunters. In fact, they barely have any muscles in their bodies. They're mostly just kind of jelly substance. So they're not able to swim and hunt and find things quickly. They have to just rely on chance and hoping they come across things. Luckily, where they are, they don't have necessarily a lot of competition. So they're usually able to find food even without going hunting for it. Okay, let's give him some eyeballs. They're kind of on the side of his head, and they're just gonna kind of look like that. They're not huge because, again, they're not actually all that effective. And remember, if we want to make something look shiny, if you leave a little spot of light, that kind of does the trick. Okay, like I said, they usually look like normal fish, but when you put them underwater, when you take them out of the water, that pressure comes off of them and they look like blobs, but that doesn't mean that they lose all of their fish features. So right at the very side here, let's just add some fins. Hopefully you did some light lines because we might do a bit of erasing. Here's one little kind of fin sticking off to the side, and over here, another fin sticking off to the side. And actually, I'm not even really going to erase that. Okay, so, like I said, this is going to be a short animal of the week. This is our blobfish. Like I said, part of your job is going to be going onto the internet, and on the back or maybe on the front side of your page, you can draw a picture of a blobfish, what he looks like when he's underwater, and he actually looks like a fish. Then he's kind of shaped, I just want to make sure you can see it. When they're underwater, they're kind of just shaped like this. I think they have a big fin here, and they have a fin, and a fin. He just kind of looks like a regular fish when he's underwater. But when he's on land, this is what he looks like. And this is how he got the title for World's Ugliest Animal. Okay, so I'm going to erase that. As far as habitat goes, usually we like to draw our habitat around our animal. Because this isn't him in his natural habitat, let's just do something to show that he's on land so we know that this isn't what he would regularly look like. I'm just going to put a bit of a puddle of water around him. There we go, so now we can see that maybe he was a little bit slimy. We put him on the deck, and oops, let's see, maybe we'll draw a bit of a deck here. I don't know, you can do whatever you like to show that he's on land. I'm gonna just put this here. They live in the deep, deep sea, like we've talked about, 3,000 feet on average underneath the ocean. And they live off the coast of Australia and Tanzania and New Zealand, that area of the world. So maybe we'll put some islands over here and a big old sunshine up here. Just so everyone can tell that this guy is on land. We'll put a boat over here so you can tell that he was from the ocean, but he's not there now. Okay, that was the fastest animal we will ever do, unless we do a jellyfish, I think. Because, yeah, there's just not a lot of details to add to him. When you go online to look them up, you'll see that he's kind of a pinkish color. So if you're going to add color, you can make them all kind of shiny looking and pink. And now, let's just switch this over. I better make sure this is actually recording. So actually, I'm going to come over there, turn it off, and then we'll flip the board over and do the backside. Okay, perfect. It was recording. So, let's fill out the backside of our sheet. So this week's animal is the blobfish, which I think we could all spell that without my help. We're gonna go blob, and it's all one word, blobfish. Okay, it is a kind of, and the name says it right there, it's not a reptile, it's not a mammal, it's definitely not a bird, it's a kind of fish. It's different than a lot of fish, and we'll talk about some of those adaptations when we get down here. So it is a kind of fish. Its carrier name, we don't have one. I don't think there would be a carrier name for a blobfish, so we're going to leave that blank today. Habitat. Here we are up here. The habitat meaning where it lives. So we said it lived in the very, very deep sea. So we can say the deep seas of, and let's get specific about what type where in the world this is. It's not here in North America, it's down near Australia. So we'll just say the deep seas near Australia. Deep seas near Australia. So hopefully you can see that. Australia is Australia. Australia. Okay, and for food, these guys, like I said, they just kind of hover right along the ground underneath the ocean, and they just suck up whatever food they can get. And often it is things like sea urchins, I don't know if you've ever seen a sea urchin, but those are the things that they're kind of blobs like that, but then they have spikes. And those spikes actually give off little bits of venom, but lots of the creatures that live in the deep sea, they're able to either, they're not able to feel the pain from the venom, or they have ways of being able to break into the sea urchins, because underneath, on the bottom side of the urchin, is a nice tender side. So sometimes some animals will scoop inside there. In the case of the blobfish, he's just going to kind of suck it up, and he just has very sort of tough insides. Not tough to the touch, but tough as in he's able to just kind of digest the whole sea urchin without having to feel a lot of pain from those stingy little pokes. So he is going to eat sea urchins. He's also going to be eating things like crabs and also shellfish. Let's put some comments here. Sea urchins, crabs, shellfish. Yeah, there we go. That's good for a good list. There's lots of other things. Sometimes it's just tiny little microscopic little critters that are floating around in the water. Those oceans are full of so many microscopic animals that we can't even see, but those little tiny animals, things like plankton, they feed things, there's so much of it that it can feed things like blue whales. So it's just amazing all the different kind of life that these oceans have. Okay, let's talk about adaptations, because not only does the ocean have a lot of different kinds of animals, but it also has animals that can do the weirdest things that allow them to survive in really unique circumstances and places, like our blobfish. In this case, the blobfish, he is unlike other fish for several reasons. For one thing, if you think about the fish that we catch here, they all have bones, they have skeletons. Well, the blobfish does have a skeleton, but it's not much of one. It is, excuse me, he has very, very soft jello-like bones, because again, all of his body is adapted to allow him to live in these really, really deep, deep waters, where most of the time it's animals, invertebrates down there, animals that don't have skeletons. They have to be jelly-like so they can live with all that pressure squeezing up on them. So he has very, very soft, bones and soft tissue. To survive high pressure. Another thing that he has that's different than the fish that we catch here in this lake is, if you think about if you've ever caught a fish and then you're cleaning it and it's got that sac of air, that's called a swim bladder, and most fish have those, and that helps them regulate how much flotation they have. So that helps them choose whether they're going to go down deep in the lake or whether they're going to come up to the surface. Because blobfish never come up to the surface, they just really need to be able to float right along the bottom of the ocean. They don't have a swim bladder. They're not really regulating that at all. They're kind of just victims of where the currents decide to take them. So they have no swim bladders, and instead they just are slightly they're slightly less dense than water, so they're able to just kind of bounce along the bottom and not sit there like a rock. So I think that's pretty cool. I think we could say no swim bladders. No swim, oops. I'm out of practice. I haven't been in the classroom, and now I forget how to write on a board. Maybe I'll put it down here. No swim bladders. Woo. Okay, I'm sorry about that M. It's just not meant to be. No swim bladders. And remember, we do a double D there instead of just one D, because if we had one D, it would say bladers, and it's that second D that gives that a soft A sound, or a short A sound. Okay, let's see, the next thing I wanted to mention, oh no, we're looking for one last adaptation. Oh, and another thing I think that's interesting about them is that they don't have teeth, so they're definitely not hunters. Even though they are predators to lots of animals, they're not really out there searching for them. They just kind of happen upon them, and then even when they find them, it's not like they have teeth that they gobble them up with. They just kind of suck it up. So I think the fact that they're able to survive in this really extreme environment, but without being incredible hunters either, I think that makes them really neat. So maybe we'll just say no teeth. They suck their prey up. Cool. So there's probably lots of neat facts that you can find for your other section, but like I said, what I'd like you to do this time is when you look these guys up on the internet, you might be able to find more facts about them. They're also kind of a really popular animal that lots of people thought was really funny and made lots of videos about. So this is a good opportunity for you to look up videos about animals, but make sure you're using your brains the whole time and thinking, do I think this is all real, or do I think maybe this is a joke? Because remember, just because there's a video about it up on YouTube does not mean it's correct. So make sure that you're kind of watching these videos. Some of them are kind of funny, but make sure that you're also in the back of your mind asking yourself whether or not you think what you're watching is real. That being said, this is a bizarre animal, so all the facts you're going to find out are going to be a bit bizarre. But what I'd like you to actually put here is you don't need to list me fun facts or anything like that unless you want to. What I'd like here is a picture of what the blobfish looks like underwater. So maybe you could just label it under the sea, and then draw a picture of the blobfish, what he looks like when he has the amount of pressure on him that he's used to living in. And you know what? That was by far our fastest animal of the week, but we didn't really have a lot of details to draw, did we? So I'm super excited to see it, and when I get these back from you, I will definitely send you a message and tell you what I think, but I'm really excited to see everyone's. And if you have any requests for the next animal of the week, feel free to let me know, or just feel free to contact me anyways, because I miss all of you and I would love to hear from you. Okay, have a great day, and I'll see you later.